It's the first Victory Monday of the 2024 NFL season for your Pittsburgh Steelers. And today on Steelers Talk, we got a bunch of great stuff to cover here, putting a bow on Week 1. First up, the latest Steelers injury updates on Cam Johnston, Darius Rush, and more. Then we'll get into 5 more takeaways that I had coming out of this game versus the Atlanta Falcons that I think are worth mentioning here as we work into Week 2. Then I'll go over what happened around the AFC North in Week 1 and my impressions of the Ravens, Browns, and Bengals this season. Then we'll get into whether or not I think the Steelers should sign punter Pressley Harvin III after Cam Johnston's season-ending knee injury. And make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already and join our family. We're about 50 subscribers away from 59,000 here on Steelers Talk. We're the largest individually run Steelers channel here on the YouTube platform. It's all thanks to your guys' support. So I greatly appreciate you guys. We do have Steelers Talk Live, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time later today. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button and join us for Steelers Talk Live later this afternoon. Okay, now let's get into the really bad news of the day here, which is that new free agent acquisition punter Cam Johnston, who really had a great camp, who really was having a good first day in the black and gold, suffered a serious knee injury when he got hit very awkwardly on a punt yesterday versus the Falcons, and he will miss the rest of the 2024 season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was reported by Ian Rappaport just moments ago, saying Steelers punter Cameron Johnston suffered a season-ending knee injury in Sunday's win over the Falcons. Sources say a blow to Pittsburgh special teams in more ways than one, as Johnston also is the holder for Chris Boswell. And then along with Cam Johnston, Darius Rush also left the game. He was checked for a concussion. We have not heard anything definitive on Rush's status heading into Week 2. But if he doesn't go, I would expect practice squad member Anthony Averett to come on and take his spot as a backup in the Steelers' defensive rotation. So, listen, man, I'm very upset about Cam Johnston having this injury, man. I thought that he was having a fantastic camp. He was going to be the punter that we've all been waiting for after the disaster that was Pressley Harvin III, his first few years here in Pittsburgh. So, spam 5 down there in the comments section for me. Wish Cam Johnston a speedy recovery. It's not Cam Johnson, it's Cam Johnston. F. Coop in the chat. I think he thought that I misspelled it, but I did not. But spam 5 down there for me in the comments section to wish Cam a speedy and full recovery. Okay, so now I got 5 more takeaways to discuss from yesterday's win versus the Falcons that I didn't mention in my post-game show yesterday. By the way, if you want to see my instant reaction to yesterday's win, go check out that video after this one. But the first one here that I want to talk about is that the offensive line was actually pretty good. In fact, it was definitely good enough to get the victory, right? I thought the run game was somewhat effective, maybe not explosive, but they were picking up first downs. Justin Fields had time to throw, especially off of play action. So I thought coming into the day that there was a lot of question marks surrounding a lot of the players on this offensive line. I thought Broderick Jones played a clean game. I thought Dan Moore Jr. played a clean game. Spencer Anderson wasn't perfect, but he's a backup. You don't expect him to be perfect. I thought Zach Frazier had a really nice day. And, James Daniels is solid like he always is. So I thought that this offensive line showed why Arthur Smith is one of the best at developing offensive line talent in the National Football League. And when Isaac Seumalo eventually comes back, I think this unit is going to be really ready to rock. Another takeaway that I had is that this Steelers defense is really, really good, but Beanie Bishop Jr. is absolutely the weakest link right now, man. Like, he gave up a wide open touchdown because he was playing in between Kirk Cousins, who was scrambling, and then I believe it was I think it was Kyle Pitts who ended up catching the touchdown there for Atlanta. It's like, Kirk Cousins isn't going to run for a touchdown, man. Cover the guy in the end zone. You know what I'm saying? So Beanie definitely needs to work on a lot of things in his game. Zone coverage, man coverage, he was the weakest link on that defense yesterday, and I do think that's probably going to be the case moving forward. However, when you have the pass rush that the Steelers have and a number 1 corner like Joey Porter Jr., it's definitely not the biggest thing in the world to have on your defense. Now we get to the wide receiver position here, and, is somebody going to step up and help George Pickens? Because George was the only receiving threat that really did anything yesterday, if we're being completely honest. Now, now. Roman Wilson is injured. He did not play in week 1. His status for week 2 is still up in the air. I think the Steelers are kind of hoping that when he gets back, he's eventually going to take over that number 2 receiving spot. Van Jefferson didn't have even that many targets yesterday. Wasn't getting open a whole ton when he was. Fields didn't really hit him. And then Calvin Austin III wasn't getting a bunch of targets either. So George Pickens really does seem like that main receiving weapon, especially if Justin Fields is going to be the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Muth had 4 catches and picked up a couple first downs, so Muth was fine, but he definitely wasn't dynamic by any stretch of the imagination. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think, are definitely going to need to get some help in this department here, especially if Russell Wilson's going to be the quarterback and he can't make the same kinds of plays with his legs that Justin Fields was making yesterday afternoon. So let me know, who's going to be the number 2 receiving option for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year? Will it be Van Jefferson? Will it be Calvin Austin III? Will it be Pat Freiermuth? Will it be Roman Wilson when he eventually gets back? Let me know down there in the comments section. Will it be somebody that's not on the Steelers? Will they still make a trade for a receiver? Let me know down there in the comments section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds, and when that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. Now, a big question here for me is, how healthy is Jaylen Warren? He didn't get that many touches yesterday. Najee Harris really dominated the backfield. Now, Warren's dealing with a hamstring issue, so I'm really wondering how healthy he is, and how long is it going to take for him to get back to 100%? Because listen, man, this guy is so electric. He's so dynamic. When he's back to full health, I mean, this Steelers offense is going to gain a really, really serious weapon. But it's definitely clear to me he's not 100% just yet. And then when it comes to Justin Fields, later today on Steelers Talk Live, we're going to be talking about reasons why Russell Wilson should start and reasons why Justin Fields should start in week 2. But I think no matter who the starting quarterback is, Justin Fields needs to be on the field when you are in the 4-minute drill, like you were yesterday. You have a lead. You have to bleed the clock. You need to pick up first downs, all these different things. I think that when the defense knows that you're running the football in that situation, having Russell Wilson on the field doesn't give you any additional benefit. Whereas a guy like Justin Fields, like, the defense needs to account for him in the running game if Fields is on the field. Plus, if you need him to throw a play-action pass, absolutely you can trust Justin Fields to do that. So I think in the 4-minute drill, even if Russell Wilson is the starter moving forward, and I think he will be, I think you put Justin Fields in there to make it even more difficult for opposing defenses to stop the run game and prevent the Steelers from running out the clock. So coming up here on Steelers Talk, an AFC North recap for week 1 and my thoughts on the Bengals, Browns, and Ravens. But before we get into that recap, let's have word from our sponsor here at ZBiotics. And let's face it, guys, after a Steelers game day, it can be hard to bounce back the next day after you have a good time drinking with your friends and watching the Steelers win a football game. That's where today's sponsor, ZBiotics, comes in. ZBiotics is pre-alcohol probiotic is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. ZBiotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. It's designed to work like your liver, but in your gut where you need it most. Drink ZBiotics before drinking alcohol. Drink responsibly and get a good night's sleep to feel your best on Victory Monday. So what you're going to get with ZBiotics, guys, you're going to get this little package right here. It comes with 6 vials that you drink before you start drinking, and it puts that enzyme in your gut, and then the alcohol doesn't affect your gut as much when you use a ZBiotics as a result, and you can feel good on Victory Monday, even if you're having a good time watching the Steelers win on Sunday. So Thanksgiving is right around the corner, so make sure you stock up on ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic before the feast. You'll be thankful you did the next day. Go to zbiotics.com/chatsports or scan the QR code on the screen right now to get 15% off your first order when you use code CHATSPORTS at checkout. You can also sign up for a subscription as well, so you can stay prepared no matter the time or occasion. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. That's zbiotics.com/chatsports and use code CHATSPORTS. It's one word, all caps, CHATSPORTS, down there in the bottom of your screen at checkout for 15% off. Thank you to ZBiotics for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. So the AFC North standings look like this at the end of week 1 here. The Pittsburgh Steelers sole possession of first place after the first week's games, man. And I'm definitely looking forward to this season because the Pittsburgh Steelers look like a team that could actually compete for a division crown this year, especially with the way that some of these other teams played over week 1 here in the National Football League. And, you know, even though I think Pittsburgh needs to definitely get into the end zone more if they're going to end up winning this division, and I still think this is one of the most talented divisions in football, Pittsburgh's definitely got a shot here, especially if their defense plays the way that they played against the Atlanta Falcons, who I think could be a playoff team this year. So let's start here with the Baltimore Ravens on Thursday Night Football in that kickoff game against the Kansas City Chiefs. I definitely think that the offensive line is an issue for the Baltimore Ravens. They lost 3 starters on that offensive line. They lost a lot of defensive brain power in the coaching room on defense. They lost Patrick Queen. That was a big deal for them, in my opinion. They lost Jadeveon Clowney. So I do think this team is going to be one that regresses from where they were last year when they were the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. Okay, but at the end of the day, Lamar Jackson's really good. He can make up for a lot of these issues. He's super dynamic with his legs. Isaiah Likely is a rising star at the tight end position, and then Zay Flowers is unbelievable as well, getting open left and right. So because you have that kind of trio on your offense, I do think Baltimore's going to be just fine. They're going to be a playoff team this year. They're going to be very competitive, but they are vulnerable, and I don't think it's necessarily a guarantee that they win the AFC North this season. Then you get to kind of the surprise of the week, and that is that the Cincinnati Bengals, with Jamar Chase playing in this football game, was only able to muster up 10 points against the New England Patriots in a 16-10 loss. Now, Cincinnati's never been a good September team. Even when they went to that Super Bowl, they didn't really have a great start to their season in September. This is usually a team that starts off a little bit rough, and then they get going towards the end of the season. But listen, man, they downgraded at running back this year. They have Zach Moss as their number 1 running back. I'm not a huge fan of their offensive line. I'm not sure if the Bengals are built for late season AFC North style football where you need to run the football to be effective. And then their tackling on defense was atrocious. Last year, they were 31st in yards per play given up and yards per game given up. And, you know, their tackling is just atrocious, man. They lost DJ Reader, one of the best nose tackles in the game in free agency. They lost their number 1 cornerback in Chidobe Awuzie. I think the Bengals are a team that's definitely going to regress this year, and they definitely showed that on Sunday. Speaking of teams that are not very good, let's talk about the Cleveland Browns here, losing decisively here, okay? So this score doesn't even show how much the Browns got dominated by the Dallas Cowboys yesterday. They scored a touchdown late. This is pretty much a 33-10 final, okay? The Cowboys absolutely dominated this game on the road in the Browns' home stadium, and the big reason why that happened, I mean, yes, Cleveland had penalties. Yes, the offensive line was missing their left and right tackles, but Deshaun Watson doesn't have it, man. He is not a good football player. I ranked him 30th in my NFL QB rankings this year for a reason. This guy has not been the same since COVID, okay? So I'm tired of the people saying he's just knocking off the rust, all this different stuff. This brother stinks, and he is going to stink the entire 2024 season. The Browns are in big trouble, at least until Nick Chubb eventually comes back from injury. So if you're happy that the Cleveland Browns are a terrible football team, like this video right now, click that thumbs up icon, like that handsome gentleman right there, smiling big because the Browns are a terrible football team. Okay, now let's talk a little bit here about Pressley Harvin III, because obviously with the Cam Johnston news, he's out for the season. The big rumor is that the Steelers would bring back Pressley Harvin because, let's face it, there's not a whole lot of good punters available at this point. Now, here's the thing. I don't know if they're going to bring back Pressley Harvin. I mean, Mike Tomlin is definitely not shy about how he was not happy with the way that Pressley played last season. So would they really want to bring him back? I don't know. They're familiar with him, so I guess it's certainly a possibility. But they're going to be going over their options this week, and they will sign a punter of some sort. I don't think they're going to go with Chris Boswell as their punter moving forward, even though he had a pretty nice punt on Sunday in an emergency situation. And personally, if I can get somebody better than Pressley Harvin III, I'm doing it. But let's face it, man, Pressley might have the best leg out of any available punter on the market right now. So I think it's definitely a possibility. So this week, guys, our live schedule, we go live later today, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Also, we go live on Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern for Steelers Talk Live. And then we have the afternoon game here on Sunday against the Broncos. Russell Wilson looking to get some revenge against his former team. We're going to be going live at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. All right, not 2:30, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. It's a 4:30 p.m. kick. So we're going to be going live at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time, F-Coop in the comments. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button right now if you haven't already. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. We're going live later today, so make sure you join us at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time for Steelers Talk Live.